It's a very famous race, been going a long time now. It has a lot of mystique. It goes back to the 1920s, and there are many Brits go over every year. They get fascinated by it. It has an atmosphere all of its own. To me also, the straight used to be a major part of what Le Mans is about. They now have chicaned that, and they've generally made the track slow with chicanes elsewhere as well. So it's not quite as exciting to the driver, I don't think, as it used to be. The first time I drove 917 was when I didn't test the car at all. A lot of people think I did, but the first time was 1969 to qualify for the race that year. I'd never driven the car before, and after I drove it for a short while, I realized the car was not at all sorted, and it was very difficult to drive because aerodynamically it was lifting, and it really needed addressing, which Porsche did for the following year. But the first year in 1969, it was not a car that I liked to drive very much. It was very wayward. By 1970, the car was totally sorted. It became a normal car. It's very well balanced, and there were no further issues with the car. It was a fantastic car, and a car that if you were in a Porsche 917, you had a very good chance to win. And although, having said that, we did have the small engine. I had chosen the small engine because the year before, in 1969, the gearbox broke. So I didn't want to put undue stress on the car with a bigger engine. So I had a smaller engine, realizing before the race that we were too far back to come through. But in fact we did, because the race was full of incidents and people making mistakes, and you know, after only 10 hours we were in the lead, which is ridiculous because we were by no means the fastest car there. Speed the year before was very high. Our race was much slower because of the rain. It made it very, very difficult because it was heavy rain, aquaplane. You know, people think we were doing 200 and something miles an hour down the straight in the rain. Sometimes we had to slow down because it would not be possible without aquaplane to do that. So it was difficult. We had, I think it's very easy in a race, if you're catching someone, then you have a motivation to catch. If you're defending, it's a little bit different, and you drive a little bit differently. And there was so much water it got on the electrics, it affected the performance of the engine through misfire, and you just never knew when the misfire might develop into something where it actually stops. So it was a stressful time, but we weren't really challenged because fortunately for us, the second car in the race was also a Porsche. Porsche were very keen to finish in that position, so they maintained position really. I think that was, fortunately, when I drove with him in 1970, I didn't realize what his promise to his wife was. That because we were in the lead from the 10th hour, that could have put more stress on me, knowing how important it was to him. I had enough stress anyway, so I'm glad I didn't know about that. But the realization of what the achievement was in 1970, being the first win for Porsche, probably the impact happened later, I think. And somehow, as history goes on, Le Mans becomes more important and more significant. So the significance came later. We've been talking to the modern guys, you know, Timo Barnard and Romain Dumas, and you know, the cars are totally different. We raced with these sort of cars as an endurance race. If we raced hard, they would probably break. Today the car's totally reliable. You can't make a mistake with gear changes because it's electronic, and the cars have totally changed. There's huge downforce now to keep them on the car. We didn't have that, so we were doing a comparison with each other yesterday and this morning, and it's a different game. There's still huge skill levels involved, but they're different skills. They have many buttons on the steering wheel. We didn't have that. with the new car, the LMP1, that will be a car full of technology, which is what Porsche is all about. And that technology will of course come into the road cars ultimately. We said that a little bit with the 918, where we have a normal engine with another 200 or 300 horsepower with alternative energy resources. That's the sort of thing Porsche are looking at for the future. And so it will help not just in the race, but also future production cars.
Le Mans, I think it is very special. So I remember in '99 I was in a team, he wins Le Mans, and it is very special. So all the people is focused of this, and it is really a great event. The preparation, so I think we developed the car to June, so on 1st of June we go to the rollout, and so now we go a lot of tests in France, in Spain, in Germany, and I think in the end of the year we go to the States for a long endurance test. Porsche have a lot of history in Le Mans. He wins 16 victories in Le Mans, and all the people is waiting of this. And I think the last win for Porsche was '98, so now 16 years later, so all the people expected when we are back we can win. But I think the first target is we are competitive.
Well, Le Mans, first of all, when you are French, I guess it's even more important because it's the race of the year that you have to perform. And in endurance, it's still, and it was always like that, the #1 race. If you look about the Porsche history, you always speak about, you know, the victory of Le Mans. That's the target for each manufacturer, and it's very important also for a driver. So for me, I have to say, June is always a very important month in the year, and it's the one that you really want to success. Le Mans, my first time was in 2001 actually. I never drove any Porsche, and I came to Le Mans because I get a ride just at the week before. And I came there, I was very young, I was a rookie, I was only 23 years old, and on this time it was not a lot of young driver. And I was always fascinated by Porsche because my father was driving a Porsche in rally long time ago, as you can imagine, when I was a kid. And when I get this chance to drive a Porsche, so I said, okay, I go in Le Mans and drive this famous Porsche. And actually on 24-hour race, we have a rain for 20 hours. And I drove 16 hours, and we had the chance to finish 6th overall. And I have to say, it's how my life started with Porsche, and I think it's my best memory, even more than my victory, because it was so critical, so dangerous. And when you are a young guy in Le Mans like that, with a new car and so on, and it was, I think, my best memory in Le Mans, yes. We start the test in June, the last, yes, so now we are on the 4th month. I think we are improving very well. We have to say we test 2 times per month. So let's say we are pushing very hard. The team is at a very high motivation. It's very important when you start a project like that. And it's, yes, it's developing very good. We improve all the time, step by step. For sure, it's a really big challenge with new people. We don't have to forget now. We are around 200 new people in this project, in this big boat, we can say like that. But it's working very good. It's a mix of everything. It's a mix of, first of all, for pressure, because we just discussed, you know, before with Timo Bernard, my old teammate. We said, wow, we hope one day to be here with a LMP1 car, you know, in 20, 30 years. And the old, let's say, Porsche driver are lucky to be here because it shows that they won with this car. And it's also a dream for us to be here. So it's a mix of everything. Pressure means we have to win, and also a mix of respect to this guy, because on this time to drive this kind of car at this speed without any chicane, you know, that is amazing, you know. We always complain about small, you know, performance on a chassis and so on, but when you look what they made on the past, it's incredible. But yeah, we hope on a few years to be also with them.
First of all, it's 24 hours, so it's a whole day that you're running, so that you have to run in order to finish on the podium or to finish first. It's a very long time, and the race was, speeded up, I think, over the years, and now it's nearly a sprint race, just over 24 hours. So you really have to push from the first moment on, and you have to get your head together and focus on the important things. So this is quite a challenge. And on the other hand, for me, Le Mans is such a special place. It's nearly a magic place, and you feel that once you walk into the paddock the first day that you arrive, that it's a magical place. It's a special place, and you know that the race was founded in the 1920s. So it's this year was the 19th anniversary of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This gives you a little bit of a feeling how historic the place is, and then together with the fact that Porsche is a record Le Mans winner, and it's a very, I think this is says a lot about the race. You know. Well, I had the honor to do the first rollout with a new LMP1 race car, and it was a special moment. But now we are in the middle of the test and development program, and we schedule about 2 tests per month, which is a good rhythm, and which should give us enough, preparation for next year. I mean, we know that there's a lot of pressure, and a lot of people are watching closely what we do, but we started from scratch with a white sheet of paper, so there's still some work ahead of us, but the spirit already in the group is very, very well, and this is looking promising. It's very much different. I mean, these cars, it starts from safety, which is a completely different standard that nowadays what we have. So luckily the safety standards developed quite a bit. And for example, now we have paddle shifting on the steering wheel, so we don't have to take off our hands off the steering wheel when we have to shift. Here is still a normal H pattern stick shift. There's a lot of things different, and you see that over the years, carbon brakes, in our cars developed, or many other things. So for sure this is a completely different car from a different era that you feel right away. But it's good, that you really, in some things, it gives you no input. Also for development now that we have, as a driver, it gives you new feelings, new inputs, and this is always, you can always take something out for the future.